Hi guys, today we're going to be doing this animation. First things first, obviously we're going to need a text plus node, the text. We'll notice that the bubbles kind of deform the text, so it means we're going to need displace node. Then the footage itself is just an imported footage, so we import the footage in, and that should basically be what we will need to do this animation. Then you see that the text kind of wipes off with this particle thing, so it means we need to do a particle wipe thing. And it's going to be pretty simple. The node may get a little unwieldy, but should be pretty straightforward. Let's get to it. Let's bring in the Fusion comp. Bring the playhead on here. Now for the Fusion comp, we press Command D or Control D and type 6:00. This is just to change the duration of this from 5 seconds, which is the default on my Davinci Resolve, to 6 seconds. The reason why I set this to 6 seconds is because the footage I'm going to use for my comp is about 6 seconds thereabout. So I'm just going to make sure the playhead is on the Fusion comp and go to the Fusion page. Just move the media out here. You bring in a background node, click, drag that in here, connect the background node to the media out. Now for the background node, under inspector, you can toggle it on here. Drop the alpha to 0, so it makes it transparent. So you have the left and right viewer. Go to media pool. Under media pool, we bring in the footage. Let me drag that to the left viewer. You see it's in a vertical mode. I'll put the link to download this footage in the description for you to download so you can follow along. But I want to make this into 1920 by 1080. So I'm just going to bring in a merge node. Now connect this media in 1 to the foreground and connect the background node to the background node of the merge one. If I drag this to the left viewer, we see that's kind of arranged itself automatically, and this kind of works for me. Let's just move this back a little bit. Let's move this background up here like so. So now we have done the background. What we need now is for the text itself that was showing on that comp. So we're just going to bring in the text plus node. Let's bring in a merge node. I'm going to connect the text plus to the foreground, which is the green input of the merge node, and connect this background to the background node input of the merge. So let's drag that to the left viewer still. It's blank because we haven't configured anything for the text. So I'm going to click on the text. Let's just say we type water. Let me see. Water. Then let's set the size to 0.15. Let's change the font to, you can use any font you want, but I use this FX New Fara. Let's just change it, maybe 0.25 is better. Okay, then you'll see that it's not actually centered on this frame. Let's close the media pool. It's not centered on this frame. Let's go here and make this fit so it fits the screen. It's kind of up there. So to center it, I'll just right click on this, go to guides and click show guides. Nothing shows up still, but we're going to go back there again, guides, make sure we pick center. So we have this line right at the center. So I'm just going to click on the upper arrow here and drag it till we have the this E part centered there. So it's kind of centered now. I can right click on this, go to guides and don't show guides again. So we have the water centered. Now to the text, to add some jazz to it. Click on the text, go here, because we want the text to move in a character at a time. I'm just going to right click on it, click on follower. Then this modifier lights up. I'm going to click on modifiers, set the delay generally to, let's set it to like maybe like 3. Then we can go to transform, leave the transform level at characters because I wanted to move a character at a time. Now I'll set the playheads to 0 as 0 here. So I'm just going to set this Z offset to 0.1. I just want a slight movement. I'll press enter, then keyframe that. I'm going to go to frame 60 like so and set it to 0. Then I'm going to go to frame 65, keyframe this, then go to frame, let's say frame 65, let's go to frame 135, and set this to 0.1. Okay, so we go to the spline editor, open the spline editor up here. Let's expand it a little bit so we get to see more of it. Then we click on this character offset, click on zoom to fit up here, click on this icon here to select all the keyframes, then click on this to smoothen everything. So now the problem with this smooth is it's going all down here. So I'm just going to press F because I want it to flatten at the points like that. So I'm going to press F on the keyboard. Then close the spline editor. But also I just don't want the text to just appear already. I want it to fade in and fade out. So I'm just going to go back to the text node, still under the modifiers, go to shading tab, go to opacity. I'm going to go to frame 60. Keyframe the opacity, then go to frame 0, drop the opacity to 0. So this way it fades in. If I move it forward, you see it fades in one word at a time like that. That's what I want, which is cool stuff. Let's go to spline editor, uncheck character Z offset twice to make it disappear, then opacity shows, then click zoom to fit, then click on this, then click on this curve, and that's fine. Close the spline editor. Okay, so now we have this. Just the question now is, why am I not allowing it to fade out? You will notice that in the comp it has a particle wipe where it dissolves into bubbles and fades off. That's what we're going to do to make it wipe off. So for this text now, you see it's too sharp for it to be under the water, so I'm going to add a little blur to it. So shift spacebar, bring in a blur node. Now for this blur node, it's just going to be something really slight. Let's make it like 3.5. So if we bring this to the left viewer, we see it's just something soft, like how text would typically look underwater. If I drag this here to the right viewer, I want these bubbles here to displace this text, right? I want to displace this text. Still on the shift on those blur node, shift spacebar, bring in a displace node. I want these bubbles here to be what would displace this text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a bitmap node. So click on an empty part of the node grid, shift spacebar, bitmap, bring that in. Then I'm going to connect. Let's bring the bitmap up here. Let's disconnect this media out for now. Let's just drag that forward. We'll get to that eventually. Let's connect the output here into this bitmap node, and let's drag this bitmap to the right viewer. It's all white. Click on the bitmap. Under inspector, go to channel, change this to luminance. It shows that, but you're now going to go to this low value, set it to 0.3, and then the high value, set it to 0.5. So we have kind of like an abstraction of just the bubbles, but I don't want this whole white thing up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, while the bitmap is still selected, I'm going to click on this polygon mask node. So another one is formed here. I can drag this to the right viewer. So I'm just going to go here. Let's drag this viewer down a little bit. I'm just going to draw a rough shape around this white part, like so, just around the edges of it, like that, and let's connect it together like that. Now under this polygon, under inspector, the paint mode, set that to subtract. But I don't want it to have the sharp edges, so I'm just going to go here and set this to 0.05, and that looks okay. So if I click here, you see we have all that faded out. So we now have the abstraction we want to use to deform this text, or displace this text more like. I connect this now to the input here, and let's say I drag this now to the right viewer. You see the text is already getting affected. So I'm just going to go to refraction strength and increase this to 0.2. Now this text is already getting displaced by this whole animation thing, but I also want a situation where the text itself is moving as if it's inside water. So what I'll do is, let's move this displace forward a little bit. Let's move this forward a bit. Let's bring in a fast noise node, drag that down here. Let's drag it to the left viewer like so. I want the detail to be 1. Then I want to right click on this, click on expression. Reason I want this whole particle thing to be moving up like that. So I'm just going to go here and go to the Y value here, which is this second 0.5. I'm going to add an expression to it, say plus, bracket open, time. Time is equal to the count of frames here, right? So if you're on frame 70, this time will be equal to 70. Then time divided by 50. Then close bracket, enter. So that way, you keep looking at this left frame. If I drag this timeline, you see that thing moving up as the timeline moves forward. I also want to go to the color and set the alpha. I go back to noise, set the seed rate to 0.2. So let's play it. Looks like it's moving too fast. Let's just set it to 0.1. So I think 0.1 is better. So now I want to use this to now make this text to be moving as if it's inside water. So I'm going to click on this blur again, shift spacebar, bring in the displace node. Then I connect this fastness to the grain input. So let's drag this to this right viewer. Then under displace node, under the diffraction strength, just set this to 0.2. So that way, if I play this back, you see it's moving as if it's inside water. Just small stuff. Okay, I want to add a little more jazz to this thing. So I'm just going to move this whole 3 forward a little bit like so. On this blur, I'll bring in a Gaussian blur. So this Gaussian blur, I will use this whole thing here to mask this Gaussian blur. Then this Gaussian blur, I'm just going to set it to 0.75. So that way it adds a bit more blur, as if the water is blurring the text just a little bit. It's just something aesthetic. Okay, now moving on to this next here. Let's drag this here now. So you see that we now have the makings of the water actually affecting the text. One other thing we just need to do for this displace, add the spread, set the spread for this one to 1.5. And set the spread for this one to, let's say, 1. And now if we play it back, you see that it's affecting the text a wee bit more. Okay, so let's even set this spread here to 2 and set this to 1.5. Okay, I'm not feeling the impact of the displace so much. I'll go to the displace and go to the strength, set this to maybe 0.75 and for this display, set the spread to 1.5 still. My bad for all this. I'm just trying to make sure it looks okay. Okay, so if we go here now, you see we have that. So now we have that text being affected by the water, but now we can't see the water affecting it. So we're going to have to bring the water in. But before we bring the water in, we're going to have to create something to wipe the text. So there are 2 channels we're going to go through for that. You know, there's a particle wipe and then there's an actual wipe of the text. So what we're going to do first, bring in a polygon mask. Let's drag that to the left viewer. Let's click on fit and let's zoom out a little bit, holding down command and scrolling up. Okay, so we have this. So I'm just going to draw a random shape. Click, just something random. Then I'm just going to find a way to close it up. So we close it up, we have that text. So we're going to just select all of this in the middle and click on this here to smoothen it out. I just drew it to make it look wavy somewhat. Maybe it's looking a little too funny. Yeah, like that. So we have it wavy. That's the first polygon node. Let's now make a copy of this. Right click, copy. Click on the blank part of the node grid, right click, paste. Not an instant. Now for this one, let's drag that to the left viewer. Let's just go here. Let's click on this point, delete it. Let's click on this point, delete it. Let's click on this point, delete it. Now I'm going to select all these upper points, without selecting any of the lower points, like so. And then I'm going to just drag them up. So they are kind of up. I'm going to drag them high enough so that something like that, almost double the height here. Drag it a bit. Yeah. So we have this polygon and this polygon. So now let's first start with this polygon. Let's drag that to this right viewer. So we have this here. I'm going to bring in the transform node, this node here. Connect this polygon mask to the yellow input of the transform node. Drag the transform node here to the left, to the right viewer. So I want at the beginning of this whole wipe, let's say at frame 15, I want this squiggly line thing to be completely off the screen, like so. Keyframe that. I'm going to go to, let's say, frame 135. I'm going to drag this down until it's almost completely off the screen, like so. Okay, so now we have the transform. We go to the spline editor to smoothen it. Click on zoom to fit. Select all of this to select all the keyframes, and press this curve thing to smoothen it out. Close the spline editor. Now I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click on here, right click, paste an instance of it. So this will be what will drive this other one too. So if I drag this to the left viewer and we play it back, you see both of them are moving. So you see they both come in at the same time and get off the screen. Okay, so now this one that has the instance is what I'm going to use to wipe the text. But this node here, I'm going to set the soft edge to 0.1. So it's kind of soft. Then I'm going to bring in a merge node. One merge node here. I'm going to bring in another merge node here. So this first merge node is what I'm going to use to wipe the text. So I'll connect, the text I'm talking about is this text here. I'm going to connect this to the input of this merge, the background node of this merge. And I'm going to connect the output of this here, which is this one. I'm going to connect this to the foreground of this merge. Then I'm going to click on this merge, go to this operator and set it to in. So if I drag this merge to this viewer here, you'll see that if I move this playhead off, it's wiping it off. But I wanted to do the inverse of this. I'm just going to click on this polygon and click on invert. So we see that it kind of fades in and wipes off the text like so. So we have this sorted. Now for the particle emitter, we're going to use this to now create a particle emitter. Let me drag this to the viewer so you see what I'm talking about. This I'm going to use to create a particle emitter, but I don't want the particle emitter to just appear across the whole footage. I want it to appear only where the text is. Okay, so I'm going to go here, connect this same output here to the background here, and connect this mask now to the foreground of this, and go to the same merge again and apply the same operator in. So if I drag this to the left viewer, you'll see that if I drag this like this, you see it's only where the text appears that we see the white. Now this output here is what I will now use to generate the particle emitter. So let's just click on here and bring in a particle emitter node here. Then shift spacebar while the particle emitter is still selected. Type PVO, that's particle vortex, add. Then shift spacebar, PRen, that's particle render, add. Now for the particle render, set it to 2D. For the particle vortex, there are some values I kind of toyed with, so I'll just enter those in here for the X offset. Now the reason I have the P vortex is so that when the particles, typically particles move in a straight line, right? So when the particles emit, I want them to rotate as if they're inside water. So that's what this vortex thing does. It does this kind of circular rotation thing. So for the X offset, which is where the center of the vortex will be, I'm going to set this to 0.003. Then the Y, I'm going to set that to 0.096. And then the size, I'm just going to set this to 0.35. Okay, so now we go to the particle emitter. The first thing we do this is what we want to use to drive the particle emitter, right? So this will be the region within which the particle will emit. Any part that is not transparent, which is white. So I'm going to go to particle emitter, go to the region tab, click on region and pick bitmap. You see this appears. I'm going to pick the output of this merge. Now, this merge is what is showing here. I'm going to connect that to the input of this particle emitter. Now I want the particles that the particle emitter will emit to look like bubbles. So let's create our own particle. So I'm going to bring in an ellipse mask and another ellipse mask. I'm going to connect this ellipse mask to this ellipse mask. Let's drag that to the left view. We see a circle. This second ellipse mask, I'm just going to go to the edge here, click on it and drag it down a little bit like so. Then I'm going to go to just this another edge of it like that and bend it like so, like that. Then I'm going to go to this round thing here, turn it like that. Then I'm going to go to the center here and drag it to the edge here. Maybe I'll still make it bigger. Let's drag this, make it slightly bigger, maybe a bit more. Okay, now for this ellipse mask, I'm going to set the paint mode to subtract. So now it looks like a circle. It looks like a bubble. So we're going to bring in a background node because I don't want this black thing on it. I want it to be transparent. I'm just going to connect this whole thing to the background node. This background, I'm going to set the color to white. Drag this here to white and click OK. And then if you drag this to the left viewer, we see we have a transparent bubble looking thing. Let's just arrange the nodes a little bit. We may have to rearrange everything eventually, but let's just focus on what we want to do. Now we go to particle emitter. Under the style tab, we set the style to bitmap. You see another point appears. I can connect this background to the background input here. Now we go to particle emitter. Let's start from the controls tab. Let's set the number here to 25. Leave number variance, leave the lifespan, leave all this. Then we go to velocity. And for velocity, set the velocity to 0.15. Set the velocity variance to 0.275. Set the angle to 90. Then we go to style. We go to size. Set the size to 0.001. Size variance, let's set that to 0.05. Then we can size over life, just drop this here to something like that. And then the fade controls, let's just set the out to 0.875. You see the output here. Let me bring this out here so you get to see, let it render out. So you see the bubbles here. Now I want to now put these bubbles. You know, we have this output here, drag this merge here. We have the water here. So we want to put this particle on top of this water. So I'll need to do some arrangement. Let's bring this here like so. Let's even bring this up. Let's bring this whole one up too, like so. Let's just bring this here. Maybe bring this like this. So they're kind of arranged like that. Then I need the output. Move this out here. Let's bring this P vortex here, P render here. Then I want to put this now on top of this merge, connect it like this. And if I drag this to the viewer, you see it's kind of working. But now it's too sharp. It's supposed to be blurred. So between this P render and this merge, I'm going to click on this P render. I'm going to bring in a blur node. Click on this blur node. This appears. Let's set this to maybe 5. Yeah, so that works. Now we want to give it the background, which is the video that we had initially. This here, this video here, which is one on the left viewer. So there's something we can do so that we don't have a whole long line from here coming all the way here. We're going to use what we call a wireless link. So I'm going to click on the blank part of the node tree, shift spacebar, type wireless. Click add. Now this wireless link now, what it needs is what node is disconnected to. So all I can just do is go here I want this node to be connected to it. I'm just going to drag this node, this merge, and drop it here. So that way, if I move this wireless link here, it's still showing what is in there without having to drag the line all the way down here. I can rename it, just say video, so I can know that it's the video. Okay, now I want this video to I want to bring a merge node. So I click on this merge node, shift spacebar, merge, connect. So let's just connect first. So if we drag this to the viewer, we know we have put this on top of this, but it should be at the background. So I'm just going to click on this, right click on it and click swap inputs. So we have the water in there. Now I also want some of these air bubbles to be on top of everything here. So I'm going to bring another merge node, shift spacebar, merge, merge. Now this time around, I'll put the video on top of it. But if I put the video on top of it, the text disappears. So what I'm going to do, you recall that we did this mask here, where this is here, right? So I'm going to use this to mask this. So I can drag this all the way here and connect it to mask input here. So the text appears. So only the bubbles are on top of the text. Alrighty. So we have, you see, we already have the makings of what we want, but I think the bubbles are a little too bright. So I'm going to go to this merge here. This is the merge where I put the bubbles on the water. I'm going to go to this merge. And because these bubbles are on the foreground, I'll go to the blend. Let's drop this to 0.5. Aha. So it seems like right now like it's part of the water. And then I believe we're done. Let's connect this to the media out. And let's play it back. And voila. Beautiful stuff, right? Beautiful stuff. And you see how the bubbles just rotate and fade off. So let's go back to the edit page. Let's render in place. I'm just going to give it render. Let's just pick location is fine. Then I can go here in as I for in, O for out, and let's go to here and click on loop. So you can go here and play full screen. Beautiful stuff. I know this took a little longer than I initially anticipated, but I just wanted to make sure I went into a lot of detail so you can follow along with me and get to do the same thing. It's pretty simple stuff, but takes a bit of steps to get through. Thanks for coming by. I hope you learned one or two things on this one. I enjoyed making this one. See you on the next one. Cheers.